Going to be a guest on a podcast is a fantastic way to generate visibility and generate leads for your business. And it's amazing, right? You get to go talk about yourself, talk about your business, and reach new audiences. And it all seems so ideal. But like most things, it's never that easy. And so today I am so pleased. Christina Lenkowski, she is an expert publicity strategist, specifically in the realm of podcasting. And I am so excited that she's here to clarify how to make this all work for you in your business. I am Selena Guerrero. This is the Thrive Biz Chat, where we talk about what it really takes to run a thriving service business. I am also the founder of the 90-Day Sales Director, where I help CEOs and consultants who are in sales overwhelm and want to get past that revenue ceiling, get them their marketing and sales systems up and running, and maybe even do some hires so they can move into multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses. Christina, it is a pleasure to have you here. I am going to introduce you so everybody knows how amazing you are. Christina Lenkowski is a forward-thinking publicity strategist and educator for online course creators, service providers, and coaches looking to expand their credibility, bring in new customers, and go from best-kept secret to go-to expert in their industries. Sign me up. During her 13 years of PR agency and consulting work, she helped clients earn spots in print publications like Martha Stewart Living, Sunset, that's a fave, Reader's Digest, and Big Life, and online coverage on, in MSN.com and TravelChannel.com, among others. Christina herself has been featured on websites like Medium.com and CEOhacks.com. She's been a guest on many podcasts, including her Empire Builder, Hustle Like a Mother, Health Coach Nation, and Launch It Girl, and helped her clients get booked on many others. She's spoken on stages at conferences throughout the Pacific Northwest and Midwest. And Christina lives in Boise, Idaho, USA, with her husband and daughter. Christina, thank you so much for being here. I am so excited to get into this because I know this is a really important way that businesses can get their voices heard and seen by new audiences. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Selena. I am so excited to be here. I apologize for the cold that I have, everybody. But I couldn't help. I wanted to get out here, talk about this with your audience today. And I also love that you said Sunset is a personal favorite, because it is one of my personal favorite magazines as well. And I think one of the only ones I still get delivered. Like that I still am like, I want the print version. Like I want to look at it. I want to daydream. And so, yes, it's a great publication. So I love that you put that aside in there.
That's so funny. Yeah. Like get my coffee, get my tea, snuggle up in my little.
Exactly. Look at people's beautiful homes that my home will never look like, but I can dream.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Maybe we can start with a little bit of, I like to talk about, like, what are we really talking about? How do we break down these terms? This is something I commonly do on these conversations, because I feel like we throw these words around like publicity, which is a particularly sort of one that I think a lot of people, there's a lot of mystery behind. I think even like, we're going to talk about how to pitch to be a guest on a podcast. And so let's just start there, Christina, just like help the audience understand what are we talking about here?
Yes, I love that you asked this, because truly, if I ask 10 different people what they think publicity is, I will get 10 different answers. You know, some people will kind of be like, press releases, you know, some people are like a thing that I see on Mad Men. I don't really know, you know, so I want to talk about what exactly publicity is, and how it falls into your business. So your marketing in your business should have 3 distinct categories, and that is owned, earned, and paid. So owned media is the stuff that, no surprise, you own: your social media, your website, anything that you have control over. So you're able to say what goes on there, what doesn't, etc. Paid media, or paid marketing, is, no shock here, stuff that you pay for. So maybe that's Facebook ads, maybe that's print ads, maybe that's like an influencer campaign, you know, something that you work with somebody and you give them money is exchanged. And then the last part of that is earned. And earned marketing is what we focus on, and that is publicity. And so what that means is that a third party is talking about you, writing about you, having you on their platform, and no money is exchanged. And so that's what publicity really comes down to, is you're getting this endorsement or getting on a new platform from somebody that you don't own. You don't own that platform. You don't get to say what goes out there, what doesn't, etc. And you're also not paying for that opportunity.
Perfect. I love it. Oh my gosh. Okay. Cause it's funny. The way I view the world is like, you know, from a sales perspective, sort of like, who do we already have in our like world, like email, right? Who are our followers? And then who's that third ring? And so you've kind of covered some of it. So just, I organize the world a little differently. And I just love that it is either paid, owned, or earned. And we're talking about how do we earn someone's trust to allow them to get them to show us to their world, essentially, right? We've earned their trust, right? So publicity, can you just break that down a little, like a one step further?
Yeah, I mean, I think a common question is like, well, what's the difference between publicity and PR? Or public relations is a term that people, you know, use a lot or hear a lot. So publicity is one distinct part of public relations. So public relations kind of encompasses, like, if you have someone on your team that handles public relations, publicity would be a part of that. But they're also focusing on stakeholder relations, employee relations, community relations. They're kind of, you know, managing all those different things for you, publicity being a part of that. Whereas what we focus on exclusively and what publicity is just that media coverage. So media outlets, podcasts, print. I mean, we only focus on podcasts, but that's what, you know, falls into publicity. Podcast, print, TV, radio, you know, any kind of opportunity like that.
Okay. And I understand you're used to kind of cover all of that. And now you've decided the last couple of years just to really focus on podcasting. So at the top of the show, I always we kind of miss this part, but just why that? Why podcasting of like everything you could be doing in the universe?
Christina, it's a great question.
Is that something you're doing on a day-to-day basis for your clients?
It's a great question. And it is funny because sometimes people will start working with us and I'll just humble brag here for a moment, but they'll be like, yeah, great. So I've loved working with you on this. Like, so can you handle print? You know, can we do these other things? No. And the reason is like, I only do podcasts is because I think that it is the most low barrier entry point for entrepreneurs that are looking to start publicity work. There are over 1 million podcasts out there. There is so much opportunity for you to get out in front of new audiences. And I just think that the opportunity there is amazing. And that I think being able to share your voice says something way more, talk about your voice, your story, etc., is really going to up that know, like, and trust factor with people way more than maybe seeing that you were quoted in a magazine, or maybe you had a feature, you know, or not a feature, but maybe they interviewed you on TV. Those things are great. Don't get me wrong. But for me, the biggest kind of return is when people are able to tell their story, talk about why it is they do what they do. And then people just want to know them. They want to get to know them more, stuff like that. The other thing that I think is really special about podcasts is, you know, at the end of this interview and at the end of pretty much any interview you're on, the host is going to say, okay, Christina, so how can people find out more about you? And I get to give a specific call to action. I get to say, hey, this is where you can come and find out more information about me. When you are featured in a magazine, let's say you get quoted in a magazine, you don't get that opportunity. It's just going to say, oh, publicity is great, said Christina Lenkowski, CEO of Publicity by Christina. Like, and again, that's nothing wrong. You get to then put that on your website. Like, absolutely, it's a credibility builder. But when it comes to getting people over to you, being a guest on podcasts is, in my mind, a much bigger opportunity.
Well, it has that digital element. I totally agree. I've read like certain whatever Entrepreneur Magazine or whatever, and I'm like, oh, that person sounds interesting, and I have to like go Google them, you know? Like exactly. I don't know if I don't know if they like allow that now, like times have changed, whatever, but just like, oh my gosh, it's so annoying, right? You have to, because it has a sort of like we're a publication and we're not about letting anybody sell. We're going to give you an opportunity to have your name in our magazine, and that's enough, right? right. And it's frustrating. So
it's actually the same with TV too. What you say is like, you can't just go on like you'll even watch on the Today Show or things like that. If like someone comes on as a guest, unless they have a book, they aren't allowed to talk about like what it is, what kind of products that they offer, that type of thing.
I didn't quite connect even the digital piece, right? Just the immediate access, at least in the show notes, or even like people often, even verbally say the URL. It's like,
Yep. Or where to
so
follow them on social. Absolutely. And people can go and just do that really quickly and easily.
awesome. Okay, so we've kind of talked about why podcasts. You've kind of made a really compelling argument, frankly, not surprisingly, around right. It's like there are so many. It's like free. You get to give your link. You get to direct somebody to your services. So like this is all amazing, and it's interesting because I think I want to talk about sort of like the premise of this conversation is like, what is the secret to getting to the right podcast with the right audience? And I think it's so funny because it's so easy. This is often what I talk about. Like, okay, I'm in sales. So I somewhat know to do this, but I think it's pretty obvious. Like you make a list of people or podcasts, you tell them what you're going to do and then you go after them. And it's just simply not that easy. It's not, there's like, it's so funny, right? Because I think in business so many times, like on the surface, it seems so simple, but like, I know, and I've been there too. Like, why are people doing that? What are these mistakes when they basically take the general premise and just, it never works out? They're spending a gazillion hours and they're not getting on the right ones. They're not getting on any, or they're getting on the wrong ones. Like, can you break that down a little bit for us?
100%. So I think that there are a couple mistakes that people kind of make regularly. And one is that they do what we call the spray and pray method. So it's almost like what you said is that they're like, okay, let me just find 100 podcasts. I'm just going to write down those podcasts. I'm going to write down the name of the host, the email, and then they send everybody the exact same thing. So they send everybody a not personalized email, literally where it just says, hey, host, or hey there, things like that. There's no personalization in there at all. And then the story ideas or the topic ideas don't even make sense for that person's audience. And I will say that for many hosts, you can talk to, and I don't know, Selena, if you even have this experience, but like 95% of the pitches they get are absolute trash. And they know that it is not personalized to them. They know this person has never even looked at their show, listened to a little bit of their show. And I'm not saying you have to listen to like 5 episodes of their show, but like listen to 15 minutes, like figure out what their vibe is, get something that you can kind of put in there as some kind of connection piece. I just think this, like, I got to send out as many pitches as possible is a huge mistake that people make at the beginning. I would always rather send out 10 solid researched pitches than 100 spray and pray level pitches. I will get a better response from those 10 if I took the time to research them and send them solid, great pitches. So I think that that's one thing that people kind of do, and kind of the biggest mistake that I would say I see people make. And then, the other thing that I kind of see people do is, they feel like they only need to go on the biggest shows, or they only should be pitching the biggest shows. Like they're like, well, if I can't get on, Pat Flynn or Amy Porterfield, like what's the point, and stuff. And I'm like, well, I've even had people sometimes in sales call, they're like, I want to be on Joe Rogan. I'm like, first of all, no, you don't. And second of all, like, I don't think that's who your ideal customer is. Like, you're just thinking, oh, that's someone that has a huge audience. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's a big shift that people need to have, is that you need to just be looking at who your ideal customer is and not worrying about the size of a show. So we actually don't know how big a show is before we pitch it. Like, that information is not public. So I don't know how many downloads a show has. I don't know anything like that. There are people that are like, oh, there's lists out there. They're not accurate. Okay. I'll tell you right now. So you really need to be looking into, like, who is that audience member? And people will get hung up on, like, let's say they find out, oh, this show, they only have 100 downloads. I don't really think that's worth my time. If I was told that there was going to be 100 of my ideal customers in a room, you better believe I'll be booking my flight, booking my hotel room, getting in there to get in front of that ideal customer. So when you have the opportunity to get in front of an audience that, again, is full of your ideal people, even if it's 20 people, take that opportunity to get in front of them. They trust the host that they're listening to. And so they're going to take what you're saying at a way higher value than if they just found you cold off of another avenue.
Okay, mic drop.
Sorry, I got on my soapbox there, but I get real worked up about that. Yeah.
No, I am so worked up about this on the sales side, right? It's like spray and pray. Like, I can't tell you how many messages I get. I mean, and the podcast side too. I mean, I get like, like these templated stuff, and it's so weird to me. I don't know. It's like there's a thing in the water and everybody just feels like that's what everybody's doing. So I guess I'm supposed to do it. Like, I don't honestly, I was asking, before we got on live here, I was asking him, like, what is it about that spray and pray? Because it's completely useless, it's aggravating. It upset. So, and I will just say to our audience that I was approached by Christina and her company. And it was like, I felt like butterflies and rainbows all around me. And I am saying that. It was like, oh,
we're not paying her. We're not paying her. She's saying it. Yeah.
Finally, somebody's actually speaking to me and what I do and what you're about and why we're like so good together and why it's not just serving you, it's serving me. And it's like, it's not that hard. And this is on the, like, as I said on the sales side, it's like to take a minute, like just take a beat, right? And just say, okay, what is it that I'm about, and what is it that they're about, and how do I establish essentially criteria, like some very simple criteria for what that means. So I'm on my soapbox about that too. It is crazy. And it's shocking. It is shocking how that message comes through like a bright light. It just shines through. It is so differentiated from this automated, copy paste that it rises to that is the message I want to say to our audiences, that it rises to the top immediately. And you can always tell. It was kind of shocking almost.
I love that you said that, because that exactly goes on that point of how I'd rather send 10 quality, solid connection pieces, like you're saying, to hosts that are really going to notice that we've taken the time to do that work, based on sending 100 pitches to people that are going to look exactly the same. That's immediately going to go in their trash box. Like, that is the big difference. And I hope that your listeners are hearing that, as like, it's going to take you some more time on the front end, but it's going to give you a way better shot at the results that you want. We don't hear yes all the time. That would be awesome, but we don't, but we know that at the end of the day, we sent out the best pitch we possibly could. And that also means that for a lot of those hosts, we might go back to them later with another guest, or even the same guest, but different story ideas, and they're open to it.
That's my dog. Sorry.
I was like, what's happening? Okay. All right. We're good. They were also fired up about this, you guys. They understood what was happening. So yes, I think that that's a really, really good point to make, is just that we're going to take this extra time. And even if we don't get a yes, we know that host is going to have a really great, they're still going to open our pitches, right? Like, even if they're like, this wasn't for the right time, or this isn't the right guest for me for whatever reason, we just recorded an episode on this, but it hasn't been released yet, XYZ, it's all good. There's a million reasons why, but we know that the next time they get our pitch, they're going to open it. And I think that that's really important to remember, is like, maybe you get a no right now, but that doesn't mean that it's a no forever. And I think that that's also a big part about knowing that you put out the best thing you possibly could.
Absolutely. And I wanted to I'm so sorry. My dog is having a moment over here. But it is, I want to talk about time for a second, because I feel like we're always talking like, I know it's, we're almost like covering, like we're always like, well, I know it's going to take more time. I know it's going to take a time to do the research, but like, is it really more time in the end? I don't think so.
I mean, totally. It depends on how you look at it. I mean, For us, like I would say we average in sending a quality pitch, we probably do spend 20 to 30 minutes on that pitch, per one that we send. Because we are listening to the show a little bit. We're trying to get to know the host. We might check out their socials, see if there's something there that is a connection, something like that. But I think that an important part to that is to remember that like, okay, let me back up for a second. Like what I really want my clients to get on and what I try to get on myself is an average of 2 shows a month. Okay. So that's not anything crazy, right? Like 2 shows a month, but at the end of the year, that's 24 shows that I've been on, and my business is definitely going to look different at the end of the year than it did at the beginning of the year. I'll say that. But this average means that like, you don't need to be pitching all the time. You don't need to be pitching, 24/7, things like that. How I actually pitch personally, when I'm pitching myself, and even with a lot of my clients, I do what I call a pitch sprint. So I actually will set aside 1 day a quarter, and I will just get in it and spend my whole day sending pitches. And so during the course of that day, I'll send, 12 to maybe 15 pitches, and that's going to set me up for that 2 an average over the next quarter or so, typically, because I'm sending, again, those researched quality pitches. And so I think that that's important to remember is like, you don't need to be doing this all the time. Set aside 1 day a quarter, hit it really hard on that day, do your follow-up a couple weeks later, because the follow-up is very, very important, just like in sales. Excuse me. And, it's going to fall as it will, but once a quarter doesn't have to be a every day or every week type thing.
Yeah. And I want to clarify, when I said, does it really take more time? If you took 8 hours in a day, like you're talking about, I love this idea of the sprint pitch. That's just really exciting. And you just compared that to doing a spray and pray.
Yes, totally.
Right. It wasn't saying, I'm just saying not the time for each. You just, if you actually, I mean, we should like A/B test this someday, right? Maybe you have already, right? But you know what I mean? And I think this idea, I don't know if we really talked about the word pitch, because I know that's frightening to a lot of people. And I guess one thing I want to share before, if you don't mind, before you answer that question around the word pitch, is that if someone out there approaches me in a way that lets me know that they understand who I am, they've clarified who they are, and that we have a lot to gain by working together in some way. Or even if it's not even a podcast, but if it's a sales, if it's like, if I have a real problem and someone's coming to me and saying XYZ, I am going to be personally thrilled. Why am I going to be thrilled? Because it is so hard to find good guests. It is so hard to find good services, right? For someone to identify me and shine a little love light on me and saying, I think you might have this issue and I could help you. And if it's done in the right way, but it's turned in sales and pitching and all of that has turned into something that it's just like this horrible thing, because the way that it's typically done is bad. But I'm just saying, like, I love that. I'll tell you a quick example. This is maybe not the best example, but we had this tree in the back, and unfortunately it was died, and we had to have it removed. And this guy kind of came to my door and he says, hey, I see you have a really dead tree out there, and like, would you like it cut? And I said, you know what? I would love to, but we just hired somebody. Like, he was on the money, right? Like, it's like, it's totally not so just getting into, I think it's actually really just a total mind shift. Christina, please break down for the audience. What is it? Like, what is a pitch? Why is it scary? What is it really? What is the point of it? All that.
100%. And I also think that what you said about the mind shift, I want to talk about that with pitching as well, for sure. Pitching is really, okay. So basically what a pitch is, particularly when it comes to like a media pitch or a podcast pitch or something like that, is you putting yourself up for consideration to be a guest on, or to, be a source or something like that for somebody's show. So that's really what it breaks down to. You're just saying, like Selena said, you're saying like, hey, I know that I could come on and talk about XYZ, and I think that your audience would really benefit from hearing me talk about XYZ. Guys, that's it. That's it. But people definitely have real fear around putting themselves out there, particularly women. about putting themselves out there, that fear of rejection. They're going to put it out there. They're not going to hear back. They're going to get a no, etc. I'm here to tell you, yeah, that is going to happen. Like it is going to happen, and that's okay. And it has nothing to do with you. So as long as you send a solid pitch, we get yeses, we get nos, we get ghosted. That absolutely happens. There's no question about it. But the thing is we don't necessarily always know the reasons why. And if we actually get the chance to talk to a host and ask them why, you would be shocked. Like usually it's just like, oh, I'm done. Like I'm done recording for the next 6 months. Or like, oh, we just had someone come on and talk about that. It just hasn't aired yet. Or whatever. It's not like, oh, that person didn't have enough followers, or, oh, I didn't, whatever. No, that's not ever the issue. And so I want you to remember that, like, you will have rejection in this, but you cannot take it personally. And so just remember that, move forward with that. The other thing that I was going to say is, I don't know how y'all thought awards shows worked, but I think this is a great example of pitching. So I used to always think, like, you'd see an award show, like maybe a local business award or something like that, and someone would be awarded something, and I was like, oh, that's wonderful. People acknowledged what a great job so-and-so did, and they gave, here they are giving them this award. It wasn't until I was way too old to know this, that you apply for award shows. Like you say, like, here are the reasons why I think that I should win this award. And there's people that are judging it. There's a panel of judges, whatever. They make that choice, and you either win the award or you don't. That is how pitching works. And how you need to look at it too is like, people, I think a lot of times think podcasts will just fall into my lap, or they fell into my competitor's lap, or whatever. No, that is not how it works. Selena didn't reach out to me. She wasn't like, hey, Christina, I see you're crushing it with podcast pitching. Do you want to come on my show? Now, granted, does that happen? Yeah. And it's awesome when it does. But most of the time, we are reaching out to hosts. We are reaching out and saying, this is why we think such and such client could provide value to your audience or should be a guest on your show. She or he judges that. They take a look at it and they say yes, or they say no, and either way, we have a decision. But that's the way that you need to look at pitching. And I think that is a big mindset shift for people, because they think stuff will fall in their lap, or they think that stuff falls in their competitors' laps. And if you have a competitor that is always getting on shows, I can tell you right now, they are doing that because they're pitching themselves to shows. So again, soapbox activated. But I think that it's really important to understand, like, what a pitch is and why it's important. Selena's looking at me like maybe I'm crazy, so I'm a little worried.
No, oh my God. I'm just like, we're so on the same page. Like, I'm like, oh God. Okay. Cause I'm just like trying to get my thoughts together, because I don't want to repeat what you said, but yes to everything you said. And so again, I know I said this earlier in our conversation, but like, again, when I think about helping people grow their businesses, right? Here's the biggest problem. They talk to the same audiences. Like, they have their email list, which they're, every week they're sending
their own channels, their own channels.
Yes. Oh, right. Exactly. Yes. You got their own like email, and they've opted in. They love me. They want to hear from me, and I'm sending them something at least a minimum once a week. Right. Then there's kind of like the second, the kind of, I think about concentric circles. The second sort of tier is like followers, right? That's not really owned, right? That's which one is that?
Like on social media?
If I have followers on social media, which category?
Yeah, that's still owned, because it is owned because you own the channel.
Yeah, but Facebook could die tomorrow, right?
Well, yes, I shouldn't say you own the channel, but you own your account on that channel. Like you own it. You get to say what goes out and what doesn't.
But I don't get to say how much people actually see my content, right?
No, you don't. No.
Right. So no. Yes. Okay. Just technically in your world, that's it. But just to say, it's a little looser than if somebody has an email.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. It's a little bit more blurry. Yeah.
It's a little blurry and more blurry. And that's sort of how I see that. And because I just feel like you don't, even if they're following you and they're engaging with your content, I want a step further, right? I want to be in
You
the
want
DMs.
them,
I want to have
totally.
any. Okay. So then it's like, that's what happens is everybody just like posts to their social groups and sends the email. But then how are you going to grow your business?
Girl, can you come and talk to people that I know? Like they're like, no, I'm on social. I'm good. I'm like, yeah.
How are you going to get, somebody say, well, I don't have any leads. Okay, well, there's 3 things in my world you should be doing. You should be doing outbound sales. You should be doing guest speaking or podcasting, guest content, which is one of this podcasting.
Yes.
Or you can do ads. That is the way you reach that third. That is the only way you can bring people in. I mean, and I will say this, I can share something on social media and yes, somebody could share it and then I can be exposed but that's on them. That is not on me. That is not something that I can control. That is not the effort that I can put in. So this is why podcasting is one of my 3 like major things that businesses really need to focus on. So we're all on the same page.
Yes. Well, I love that you just said all that because I will run into that quite a bit of people that are like, well, yeah. And I mean, I'm just out there on social, all the time and And then they're like, yeah, but I don't know. My business just isn't growing. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, you like, that's wonderful. Nurture the people that love you like 100%. Like, I'm not saying like you don't need them, you do, but they're not going to do your job for you. Like you need to be going out there and people are always, another thing, a mindset thing. And I'm sorry, I know we're kind of going over time here, but I'm just all jazzed up now about it. But, one thing is that, people have a mindset thing too around like, well, what if I mess up? What if I'm on a podcast and I say something wrong? And I'm here to tell you, I say stuff wrong all the time. I mean, I swear, I stumble over words. Like I'm real when I'm on a podcast, and that is what people want from you too. They want you to be real out there. And I truly, 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 truly think that the worst thing that could happen is that you don't put yourself out there because your business will not grow. Do not be worried about stumbling over a word, saying something wrong. Now, granted, Be Here on with Selena is a live recording. That's a little different, but most podcast recordings are going to be done beforehand. If you really feel like you said something so wrong and messed up, you can always ask the host to edit it out. It's not the end all be all. And I don't want that to be something that, you get up in your head about before you even do it.
That's interesting. Yeah, it sort of is a barrier for people's fears around that. I mean, and I'll tell you, I started going, this is, going to be into an audio. And it's funny because, okay, I have a couple things to say. One is, and then I want to get to the sort of a final question. Well, because I think we want to get into sort of like the pitching piece, just a little bit of how to do that. But just, I started going live and it's like, oh man, like it takes time, but it gets better and it gets easier. And you just have to at some point throw yourself in there. I mean, being an entrepreneur, being an owner, being a CEO requires that. I mean, you kind of have to throw yourself in there one way or the other.
Yes.
The other thing, and I just want to say the other thing, this is maybe a little bit, sorry. So the one thing about the audio is that they hear your voice. You mentioned this before. They hear your voice. It's very personal. It is about yourself. It's not like pre-constructed article that you maybe sent to an editor. It's not. And so it's very personal. It's very raw. And I think people can already begin to see what it's like to work with you when they hear you talk.
Yes.
The other thing I want to say, just another boost for promo for podcasting, is that when it's in a podcast, it's there forever, right? Whereas a social media post, if I do a reel, like it's gone the next day, right? It's gone within like 4 hours. And whereas the podcast becomes searchable and it becomes something that lives forever, similar to YouTube, where it's the search engine, right? It's that SEO piece. So we didn't even get into that. And so just there's so many different aspects that are advantageous, because I do think that fear is real, and just trying to maybe just reinforce some of the positives and real true benefits of being on podcasts is important. Okay. So I want to talk about really quickly, just like, how do you suggest?
Okay. All right.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. You were a little delayed. What would you like to say? Sorry.
No. I was just going to say, another thing to think about is that every podcast you do is content for you that's evergreen, in the sense that you're on a podcast, you can go in and chop that up into a bunch of different 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute things. You can put them on your social, you can put them on your website, etc. All I want to do is just make the point that, like, yes, it's searchable, which is amazing. It's long-term content, but you can also put it into content that you can be using on your own channels as well.
Which kind of speaks to also the fact that you don't need to be doing 100 every month.
Exactly. Yes. 2 a month. That's a great goal.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. All right. So how do we do this well? How do we pitch well? Like, what's your magic formula? Or at least what would you like to show?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think it's important for people to realize, like, they might be listening to us and be like, my God, that sounds like a lot of work, and stuff to do that, like, correctly. And what I really recommend people do is create a solid pitch template. And so what that is like, when you get started, you're going to essentially create 90% of your pitch, and you're going to use that every time you pitch. So that's going to have your credibility markers in it. It's going to have solid topic ideas. Like, maybe you come up with 4 or 5 solid topic ideas, and then based on the host, you choose what 2 or 3 you want to send them. It's going to have, your one sheet attached if that's something you want, your audio bio, etc. Those things are going to be in there, so that all you're having to do is go in at the top, put the host's name in, put in a couple sentences about what you really love about their show, why you think that you would be a good fit for their audience, choose the couple topics that make sense, and then hit send. So it's not that you're having to reinvent the wheel every time. You're going to create that pitch template. That's going to be number 1. And then you're going to use that over and over and over again. And so I think that that's important for people to hear is like, that's going to be the basis for the pitches that you're going to send.
Perfect. So you've kind of got your basics, and then you're going to need to sort of customize the pitch itself, right?
Yes. You can even have it in Gmail as a template email, things like that you're just then having to add in some things. You've done your research, you just add in some stuff, and then you're able to hit send. And that makes life, a lot easier. The other thing I want to say about the topics, and one thing that makes it for a really great pitch, is that you need to come up with topics. And the reason that I say that is there are a lot of people out there that will just be, I think they think they're helping the host by saying, here are the things that I'm an expert in. You let me know what you want to talk about. And you guys, no. And the reason that I say that is that's more work for the host. We are trying to make it as easy as possible to get to a yes. So when we send topic ideas over, they need to be solid topic ideas, but they need to be specific. They need to be ones that they think will resonate with their audience. And that's what you're going to send over, not just some bulleted things out that you think you can, like, oh, I could talk about branding, marketing, whatever. Like, no, you need to get in there. Like, let's talk about the 3 brandy trends for 2022 and get in, give us a couple sentences after that. I want you to really get in on those topic ideas. Topic ideas are what have gotten my clients booked on Tyler McCall, Copywriters Club, huge podcast. We didn't know them. We're cold pitching them. But it is the solid pitch with solid topic ideas that is what getting our clients booked on those shows.
I love that. Tell us how to, now I know you have some resources, right, for people
yes,
around
definitely.
maybe some, okay. So, and we're going to put that in the comments and make sure they get that. Before we do that, Christina, how do you then search and find who? Like, that is a big mystery, right? Because there's, like you just said, there's millions.
Yeah. So that is like part of the resources that we have, like for the do-it-yourself option. We do talk way more about research, but really, quickly how we do that a lot is we truly do most of it in iTunes. So we're in there quite a bit, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, kind of searching, by category or things like that for shows that will make sense for us. But really what I say to people when they're first getting started with podcasting or podcast guesting is ask your audience, ask your current clients, who are they listening to? Put it up on social, What are you listening to right now? Who do you have in your earbuds? Of course, you're going to have some responses that don't make sense for what you do, a true crime podcast or, a food podcast or something like that. And you're like, well, that's cool, but it's maybe not going to make sense for you, but you will get some good ones, and you will get some shows that maybe you hadn't heard of before that you can then go drop into iTunes, take a look if that's going to be the right fit for you. Again, this is kind of a topic that you have to get into a bit more in depth, which we do in training, but absolutely, there are ways to be researching stuff, and it doesn't have to be like you having a personal contact.
Yes, that's really important. And okay, so I want to just recap a little bit of what we've talked about. We've talked about publicity as earned media, meaning you have earned someone's, in my own words, trust to like have your voice be shared on their platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about podcasting being part of that. There are millions out there, right? And it's free to the extent that
Mm-hmm.
besides getting the in there, people hear your voice. They begin to feel like what it's like to work with you, right? They hear your position on thing, and they hear your authority or your leadership, build credibility.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's podcasts are there forever. They're searchable. You can also use that for evergreen content, right? Throughout your own social media.
Yes.
We know that we need to get beyond our own existing followers and email list, right? And this is a great way to do that. You're saying like get 2 a month and you're in great shape, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're talking about putting together a number of different templates, right? That kind of you can, reuse again and again, but customize when you go out to pitch yourself as a guest, as a podcast, as a, on a topic. And that fundamentally when you pitch, pitch is not a bad word. That in fact, if we do it in a way that actually shows that we see the real true match and win-win situation, people like me will just love it. Like people love it. People will be, and furthermore, if it doesn't work out, it's for reasons that you cannot control and you just move on.
Yes. Exactly.
You can go into iTunes. You can find, I know there's a lot of work there, some detailed work, an approach around that. And, as it sort of summarizes, like this all seems like manageable. It seems like something that people can begin to really explore. How do you specifically help your clients? I would love to hear that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we have 3 different ways that we work with clients. So we have a do-it-yourself, a done for you, and a done with you option. So the do-it-yourself is my podcast pitching 101 training. And this is all you can find available on my website. But the one thing I really like to direct people to, and I know this will be in the show notes, but is podcastpublicityquiz.com. And that'll help you figure out which track might make the most sense for you. And so what we have, though, is a podcast pitching 101 training. So that's where we talk about how you can build your own pitch template, how you can start to do research, how you can kind of do that pitch sprint like I do, that type of thing. The done with you is a VIP day we offer. And this works really well for people that maybe have a team member that they want to start pitching on their behalf. So they're like, hey, I have an assistant, I have a virtual assistant, something like that I think could start to do this pitching for me. And so what the VIP day is, we have a brainstorming session, and then we create all the assets for you. So the pitch template, your PDF one sheet, your audio snippet, literally everything that you need. And then we do a one-on-one training as well. So that's our VIP day. And then our top option, which is definitely, what we've built our agency off of, and our most popular offering is our podcast pitch broker service. And so what that is where we do everything for our clients, other than the actual interviews. We do the pitching, we do the follow-up, we do the research, we do everything. And so they do what we call show up and shine. So they just come to the interview, drop their knowledge, build that relationship with the host. And then they go on from there and create that and move that into evergreen content. So we work with a lot of different entrepreneurs. I mean, I know you can't see behind me right now, but this is all clients behind us, work right here that we work on. And the thing that we do that's really unique is we actually guarantee bookings. So I came from the PR agency world, and excuse my language, but I thought it was utter bullshit that we could never guarantee anything. And so when I started this company, I was like, nah. And so I have a guarantee of placements. I can't say to someone, this is where I'm going to get you featured. I can't say that until we're pitching and stuff like that. But as an entrepreneur, if I'm investing in something, I want to know what it's going to look like at the end of the day. So we have that guarantee and we hold to it. And that's why a lot of our clients continue on with us. And we're very lucky. And, you know, as Selena said, we pitch at a really, really high level. So that's something we're really proud of, is that pitch broker service. But those are the 3 ways that people can work with us.
Wow, that's amazing. And again, yeah, I will say that I have been on the receiving end of that. And I mean, I really mean, it was just like, it was so surprising in a way, because it seemed in some ways, I couldn't actually believe that I was being spoken to in a way that like respected me, my time and my, what I'm doing here. And you know what I mean? So I really totally vouch for that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So everyone out there, time to get on your podcast. And Christina, I love that you have 3 options. That I don't know, like, everybody call up Christina right now. Okay. Your website is Publicity X Christina. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah. It's Publicity by Christina. But Christina. Yes, she just, Oh no, I thought I was being real clever. Like I was like, bye, whatever. And I remember one of my friends was like, maybe you should just do BY. And I was like, you don't know. And now it's like the bane of my existence. So yes, it is publicityxchristina.com. You can also find me on Instagram at publicityxchristina, and Christina with a CH. But like I mentioned, that podcastpublicityquiz.com, if you're interested in seeing what makes the most sense for you, is a great spot, a great place to start.
Awesome. Christina, I really appreciate your time, all of the knowledge, all of the insights, all of the enlightening around this thing that everybody keeps hearing and is questioning what it really means and how to do it effectively. Right. I just really appreciate it. And I know our listeners have learned so much. And of course, I have learned so much as well. Good. It has been a real pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. I love connecting with you, our mutual love of sunset. And then, of course, for your listeners as well, to be able to hear this conversation, especially because I think it's so important what you talk about, the sales kind of side of things, and hearing like, okay, how can this help you and how do they differ? And yet also, how are they the same?
Yep. And how do we need to get to new audiences so that we can get leads and new clients and new revenue and have thriving businesses, right? Like that's what we all want.
Yeah, definitely. That's what the end game is here for sure. Yeah,
exactly. This is what everybody wants. This is an amazing way. I mean, hey, you just get to go on and chit chat and talk about yourself. I mean, who doesn't love to do that, right?
Who doesn't love to do that? Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you again.
I'm
out. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.